Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. Today I've got the real privilege of sitting down with a true community champion, John Rea. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
John, you've been in our community for a very long time. You've really been a pillar in our community. You've raised a family here. You've grown a very successful real estate company here. You've planted roots in our community. You've been on so many boards and done projects for the area, too many to even count. And you could be anywhere in the world doing what you're doing, but you've chosen to plant roots here in Monroe. Why did you choose to anchor here?
Well, first of all, our family moved here from California, excuse me, uh, where Treasure Island is. That was my dad's farm, so that's where I grew up. There were 8 of us, 2 boys, 6 girls. And so since that time, going to school here and uh, been able to achieve things education-wise, people, how they stepped in to support me. Kobe, it's easy to say I'm gonna give back what was given to me.
Mhm.
So life has been good to me in that area, and I'm blessed. So
How has living here in this community really shaped the way that you lead, you serve, and you give back?
well, when you grow up in a community like this, and a person like me. I'm in the sales business. I look at people and watch people. I see what they've done. As a little boy, I could say there were a lot of heroes I've had, mentors, and you try to take what you like out of each one of them and put it inside of you, make it work for you. So I'm not John Ray. I'm just a composite of all the people that I've been able to associate with and who have helped me along the way.
I love that. I'm just a composite of all the other people.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
I like that. I've honestly never really thought about it like that. I mean, you think about the people that have poured into you and that have served, and they really have shaped your character and who you are. Um, uh, let's go. I want to kind of dive into the community
okay.
service just a little bit because you've been somebody who is so passionate about our area. So much to the extent that several years ago you created the Love Your Community. I don't know if you would call it a campaign or just efforts.
Mhm.
What was the why behind that? Why did you step out and create that?
The why behind it is State Farm had just left, GM had just left. Uh, I was not happy with some of the comments uh, about their withdrawal. But what started it literally is when GM pulled out, um, there was a major real estate corporation, commercial realtors, excuse me, out of Dallas, Texas. And this is what they do. They sell those type of plants. So we were the boots on the ground. I had a connection with the senior vice president of General Motors, and I was asked to come out and speak to them before they made the decision. In fact, I took the chamber president. I said, "You're about to hear something you're not going to really enjoy." And so we went through that process. And because of that, and the boots on the ground, one thing that they made real clear to somewhat of the political environment people is we're not going to come by you when we bring prospects in here. We don't want to hear what's going on in the community. And that struck me. That I know that's their feeling, but I didn't really uh, take that inside of me. So what happened is, to get to your point, in the showing of the property, there was a investment buyer out of California that goes around the country. That represents a huge group of people, and they wanted to look at the plant for distribution. So we got it set up, and Friday afternoon, I'll never forget. I was on number 16 of Baldersier Country Club, and I looked down at my phone, and it's him. And he said, "You're to pick us up at the airport Monday morning at 8 o'clock." I said, "You don't, excuse me, you don't have to do that because I've rented a car and I'll just meet you out there." I said, "Okay." I said, "I know exactly what you're about to do." And so we go in, had the engineers there, everybody, and we spent 4.5 hours going through the facility. It really wouldn't work for them. So he and I were walking out to the parking lot, and this is to your point. He said, "Do you mind if I tell you something?" I said, "No." He said, "You probably figured out what we did over the weekend, but I brought my people in and I sent them throughout your community, and they talked to people in various places intentionally. And your community has a poverty of attitude." And I go, that's just like stabbing me. So with that said, that sort of planted the seed, and you'll appreciate this. We had left one church, and after a period of time, we finally woke up one Sunday. I said, "Celine, let's go over to this church. I've never been in there. I know the pastor. That's it. We'll go in there, and nobody will know us, and we can just sit."
Famous last words.
Yes.
Yeah.
So his sermon was, "Love your church."
Wow.
And we had already, there's a lady named Sarah Hoffman that the Lord just brought into our business, a wonderful lady. And we had literally just talked about what about your community? What about the community, loving your community? How can we take that to the marketplace? And to me, that was a confirmation.
Right.
We're on it. So we met with a advertising company, and they drew up the logo. We did not want our name on it. This is not about our company. We're not trying to self-promote. We're just going to go out and try to change the tongues and change the hearts. So with that, I mean, we had stick all kind of things. But I made a deliberate decision not to go to people in politics or people connected directly to the community. We were going to go around them. And that was my mindset. So I got a list of all the pastors in the area. We had 50 pastors.
Right.
Your father-in-law was there. Bless his heart, I loved him to death. And so there was not one, the only politician, and I don't mean to be ugly, that was sitting in the room was Frank Hoffman. I'd asked Frank to particularly come. I brought in the senior vice president of Century, and we had some of the early drawings of what was about to take place, and we asked, can we use them? And so we talked about blessing. We talked about the tongue. We talked about the influence they have, because the chamber and others, you might influence 1,000 people with your message. Well, they could influence 30,000 in a weekend if they would all just speak out the same thing at the same time. So we just kept pushing them. Ike Bird was my only one that showed up from that community, and blessed. I love Ike Bird. And he was very instrumental in picking the ball up and trying to run with it too. He still has. But anyway, we had several of those, and we just kept pushing it and kept pushing it. I met one time with an economic group. I'm not going to call names, but we went through the whole presentation. And I had a guy at the end. He looked at me. He says, "John, that's very noble, but it'll never work." Sat there and I looked at Sarah, and about that time, a senior vice president of Century was sitting on the board. He jumped up and he said, "That's what's damn wrong with this community, is attitudes like yours." Well, we just sat back. I said, "Sarah, when you tell the truth, you don't have to defend it. We just listen to and go back and forth." But it takes a while to change attitudes and perceptions. And it takes a combination of a lot of things. And the thing that there's a lot of moving parts behind. So that's our passion. We just kept pounding on it. Kathy Van Beckhoven and Joe Holyfield and some others got into the clean up the community. It's no different selling them house. You clean it up. Yeah. It's the curb appeal. And they did a number of things. The sheriff's department helped some others to clean our city and make it more attractive. This is what people see.
Right.
So when they drive I-20 from Millhaven Road to past Thomas Road, that's a quick snapshot. It ought to be really sharp and looking good. So anyway, to say all that to say that people started changing their thinking a little bit, and they were part of what's took place and what was attending for our area when they brought Friday Ellis in. So you take Friday Ellis coming here shaping a vision, it was different than before. And you bring Roy in here shaping what needed to
Like a
happen in the
dream team.
business community. It was just two right things coming together at the right time. And so we've been able to sit back and, hey, look, we're part of that. It's been wonderful. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing your age group. My gosh, I sat in that first chamber meeting and I go, look at here. Look at the leadership in this room. Look at the enthusiasm. Look at the energy. It's great.
Yeah, and I love that because much of what we're doing with this Made in Monroe podcast, and just our community engagement efforts with the chamber, it really came from a place of being in a line at a coffee shop or a restaurant and you hear people talk about all the things that we don't have here in Monroe. Well, there's not this or there's not that. And so as Roy and I began talking and thinking through it, I said, how do we change that perspective? Because we have to change that perspective in order to change what people are going to say about our area, but that it has to be changed.
Right.
And so if you can change what people are saying and you can change their minds and how they think about it, then their hearts will change
That's right.
about our area. And so what a better way than to sit down with people who were literally made here in Monroe and tell their stories and get those stories out of the positive things, but also the why, because I really do feel like people like yourself and my father and James Moore and Joe Holyfield, and those are just a few. We've interviewed so many that really could be anywhere in the world doing what they're doing. But you guys that are really successful, men running really successful companies have chosen to plant roots here in this town, and there's a why, there's a common denominator behind it, and typically when I sit down with people, they'll say it's the people, it's home, it always comes back to the community of Monroe, and so, I love that you started that, I love the why behind it, and wanna continue that, so, thank you for starting that. I think you really kinda started, just a domino effect in our community that now we are really seeing, um, pay off really from what you started.
There's we didn't start it. We just hijacked
Right.
the feelings that we
Right.
were sensing in the community. Now, in Sacramento, California, you can look into it. Um, they were about to go bankrupt. They built a big facility out there, municipality, et cetera. And financially, it was not doing well. And it was sort of funny. There was an artist moved out there from Denver. There was a story, and so we told a story. And what he did is he approached some of the city people, schools, and public facilities, and he started a positive campaign. And what I mean by positive is they developed 25 positive words. And he built stencils, and they started stenciling those words in parking lots and parking places. And so if a business would say yes, they would go out, and I
Right.
forgot what the cost was, like $50, and they would stencil a positive word in a parking place or several. So I called him. How'd you do this? How'd you get it going? And that's what I do. So, and he even offered, I'll put it in my truck and drive down there if you can get it off the ground. And we never quite
Yeah.
could, and it needed a lot of help and a lot of assistance. But that's part of it. It's just over and over and over. You got to speak it. You got to believe it. You got to live it. And when you do, it really does have influence. We know that. But
Yeah.
one of the greatest things I was about to tell you a minute ago is when Century started their expansion, I think it was them. I really don't know. But a focus group, study analytical people group company came out of Austin, Texas to look at our community on their behalf. They were contracted. So they were going around holding these focus groups. And I spoke somewhere, and Frank Hoffman came up and said, would you go with me tomorrow? I said, where are we going? He said, there's a meeting. I just want you to go in there and tell that story. And so I go in there, and there were about 10 or 12 people in there, and they had the three from Austin, Texas, setting up there. And so they asked me to start it. And I said, no, I'd really like to hear everybody else before I say anything. I said, sure. So everybody else put their inputs and all that. And he looked over at me, and I said, how many of these have you done? He said, that's probably about 10th or 12th. I said, okay. How many times have you done one with the pastors of the communities? He just stopped. You see, I've been doing this for 35 years, and you're the second person that's ever asked me that. I said, well, they're the greatest influencers. They have control of the audience. Why aren't you listening to them? And I said, you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you, but you're going to write your program, you're going to pass it out, everybody's going to read it, and you're going to put it on the shelf. Because we already know. But we need the pastors. They're an influential group, and they can help us change minds. They can help us change tongues. They can help us make an effective change in our communities. So that's how we started. Okay, we're going after them. Dale Walker's in the middle of it. Jared probably knew about it, and many others. So if you're going to change your neighborhood, you got to get your influencers in.
You've been a real connector in doing that and connecting the right people and making that stuff happen. So thank you.
Colby, I'm nothing more than a telephone pole holding up wires. That's all I do. So that's it. If this one needs this, we're fine. We'll help you, but we're just a telephone.
But you're needed. You're a crucial part of that equation.
You're kind to say those things, but
well, I appreciate all of your efforts, and as I was sitting down and thinking about today, you've not only been a real champion for our community, but you've also been involved in a lot of church work. You're a man of deep faith, and I got to thinking about just your business and the community and church work and all of these things that you have yourself involved in. Being a man of such faith, how has that impacted how you have, I guess, grown your business, run your business, and how has it impacted your household?
well, start with a business first. When I turned my life totally over to Christ, I'll be honest with you, I put the books of the business down and said, okay, it's yours. I'm not going to check behind you. I'm not going to go look at everything. We're just going to roll, which we did for many, many years. I never looked at it. And the truth is, I feel like God gave me that platform, and I didn't realize it before because I tell people I was addicted. I had an addiction problem. It was success, recognition, acceptance, and approval. Those are my addictions. And so when you took all of that away, it became very easy. One of the things along that line that changed my way of thinking was Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. And so that phrase, I will get what I want when you get what you want. And so in thinking about that, in management schools, administration, they teach you how to lead from top down. And he was saying, you lead from the bottom up. And so one day I'm sitting there, I superimpose those two. You know what you have? The Star of David. Is exactly what it is. So how does it, my business was the ability and a place to go into the marketplace, not be ashamed of sharing my beliefs, sharing what Christ has done for me. I had two men a while ago, both of them very successful. I keep a $2 bill right behind my shoulder on a computer, and I wait for them to ask whoever's sitting over there, is that the first $2 you ever made? I said, no, it's a different story. Really? What is the story? I said, do you mind if I tell you? Bingo. There we go. And it just leads right in. I want you to tell me about your faith. So a $2 bill, it's nothing but paper. And one side I try to tell people that you live in a great country. I don't care what you think about it. I don't care what's going on politically. Doesn't matter. You can agree, disagree, but it's a great country. And so turn it over. You got all the people that signed the Declaration of Independence. And most of them had a faith. And how do I know? It says right down here, in God we trust. So tell me about your faith.
Wow.
It works every
Every
time.
time.
It works every time.
I love that.
So it's, but I've been blessed. I tell you all of that to tell you I've been blessed. It's been incredible what God has done for us in our company. And we're just grateful. So we enjoy pushing people up, not pushing people down. And He's honored that, and we've been blessed. So I got great people. I don't have been. I just laugh sometimes. Lord, why'd you give me all this? Why'd you let me do this?
Well, I think probably
So,
because he could trust you, you've been faithful, right?
well,
Well,
my sister said that.
so, no, I
Uh,
think it's showing it's evident and
yes,
shame on what you do, and, you seem to love what you do too, and you do, you've got great people around you.
yeah,
There's some of them, and you've got a great team
yes.
that's in place, and
Thank you.
so, but I do think that there is truth in that, um, the way a company works or the culture, the environment of a company really does trickle from the top down.
Well,
And I get to watch that here just with my own father and getting to see really how a lot of it does start with him and trickle down. And so,
right,
I think you've built a wonderful culture at your company, that really does stem from a place of faith inside of you.
yeah.
And
Well,
so
thank you.
it's evident.
It's been a great platform, Kobe. Gosh, you're familiar with the retreat
Mm.
ministry and got involved in that, and God has really blessed that. We've had over 6,000 men go through it in the last 8 years. So, and we're going in other states now and other places. So it's neat.
Well, I want to talk about that. That's actually where I was headed. So you really have been a driving force behind men's retreats here in our community, and now with expanding to Oxford, Mississippi. Kind of expound on that for me. How did that how happen? How did it come about? What inspired that?
Well, what inspired it was the fact that my son uh, went to Ole Miss to work on his PhD. And so my son's not where I am. And that's goes back to your question a while ago of how did it impact your family and the household and home. Uh, it came late in life, so they didn't see that like a lot of others. So it's had an impact in one way, and it's I don't know if I want that. Well, that's God's time, and God will take
Right.
care of that. So with that said, the retreat ministry itself that we're involved with at our church, Christ Church, other churches, it's East Texas, North Louisiana, Southern Arkansas. But my son going to school at Ole Miss, that planted the seed. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go there. We'll go there. And so started knocking on doors, started talking to pastors, and it's taken a while. But so I'm just one little piece of grain sand involved with all the group there that is going up. There'll be 35 men. Yeah, they will go up and they'll serve. We just got our 32nd guest just a few minutes ago. So, God's moving. He's moving among his men. He's not just moving here, he's moving in other places. It says in the Bible, a vine came out of Egypt and that vine is growing and we're just grafted into it and enjoying the ride. And to me, to see people transformed, to see them get their lives back together, I did, and to see how it impacts their community, how it impacts their church, how it impacts their family. We hear it over and over. The family unit is broken up
Mhm.
and separating. Well, God's just given us a tool to bring it back together. So we give it away. It doesn't cost the church or anybody anything. It's self-paying. And so it's neat.
What do you
Really is
hope
neat.
that men take away from those retreats, and how do you see them using that to come back and impact their families and their communities?
The single probably greatest thing is that the person that goes in on Thursday is not the person that comes out on Sunday. And sometimes when that person goes back home, we've heard many a wife say, "That ain't the guy I dropped off on Thursday. What did y'all do to him there?" We didn't do anything. Christ does it, the Holy Spirit in it. But a man like that is willing to be changed and willing to admit, I'm not perfect, willing to swallow their pride, willing to become the father, the husband in their homes
Mhm.
that they were destined to be. So it's not easy. It's a transition. You have your good days, your down days, but you need that outside of that. That really drives the small group men's ministry. That's where you share life together
Right.
and grow. So that the number one outcome from me is to see the impact on their home life. And then it goes into community, church.
Yeah. trickles out from
Yeah, it
there.
does trickle out.
Yeah. Well, John, we've talked about community, we've talked about church work, but I want to talk a little bit more about your company
Yeah.
because companies like yours are not built overnight and they don't stand the test of time, I don't think, without a really strong foundation. And so, what are some of the principles that you've built your company on from the beginning? And you may even tell me that those have changed over time.
Well, everything changes. When we started in 1976, March of 76, we were in an office by myself, square off maybe 10 or 12 feet here. That was it. And I had my mother helping me answer the phone. So I made it. There are two decisions, I guess you might say: integrity, character, professionalism. Those are easy words to throw around. And so God gave me the opportunity to have a brokerage business. And so at that point in time, I made my decision, it's going to be brokerage. I'm not going to try to get off into investment in other areas. If we're going to represent people, then they have to trust us, and they have to trust us completely, that we're not in there. And I'm not saying they're not, but it just never was our goal to try to buy something or grow our business through acquisitions. That just wasn't it. We were going to be a brokerage company. So our standards had to be high. Our performance had to be even higher. I guess to answer your question in a way people might understand, it's no different than a pilot taking off an airplane. There's a checklist. And many, many years ago, there was a serious plane crash in Detroit. There were 56 people on that plane, and it went up, turned, and crashed. One 9-year-old child survived from Birmingham, Alabama. When they investigated, they found out that the flaps of the plane had never been set, so it couldn't fly. And that's no different in the real estate business when you're working with an individual in a transaction. You set your flaps, you have your checklist, and you do it, and you check, and you double check. And that's what we wanted to build our business on. So integrity is extremely important to me. And with that, I think it was able to be translated into the marketplace, and people do. I feel like they do trust us, and they're transparent. It's amazing. We're probably more in the counseling business than we are in the real estate business. But that's the fun part of it. Everybody's different, the community, and we're blessed to have people that will take their single biggest asset and hand it over to us. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing when they do that. So we love what we're doing. It's been good to us. We've why shouldn't we
Right.
be proud of what we're doing and give it back to the community? That's what we do.
Yeah. But I think
Well,
people trust you because of the foundation that you have there, and because of the principles that you've built your company on it. And trust doesn't always come immediately, but I think John Rea it's a household name at this point in our community. I mean, every person has heard of it. And so I think I think there's merit in that. I think there is value in that. And so I think people have trusted you for a while and know that they can trust you going forward, right? I mean, it's kind of like us. Um, Somebody asked me one time about something just related to my relationship with the Lord, and I said, I can trust him because I've got history with him, right? We trust him because we know that we can, because he's shown us that before. And I think it's much the same. You've proven that time and time again, and so people know they can come back to you and they can trust you.
well, Kobe, um, those are very kind words, and it really is a wonderful thing to be honored. There's no doubt about that. But I would not be where I am today if it were not for the people underneath and God's help. I mean, I just wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So it's really their company. I just get to have my name out there, and you know, I get the pats on the back, but they really are the ones that make it better, not me. I get to be along on the ride. So it's fun.
Have all the fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is. I'm blessed.
What advice would you give to young business owners in Monroe that want to succeed and want to give back?
Know their goals, know the vision, know what direction they want to take the company, establish their core values, and live those core values. You know, it's wonderful to have a successful business. It's wonderful to have cash coming in, but be careful where the source is. Be sure you don't cross a line that damages your integrity, your character. Now we know we live in a world that forgives. We know that. We know we live in a great world, but you know, business has its ups and downs. But how you overcome them. But your integrity is not for sale, not for sale at all. And you have to establish that in the beginning. You have to decide. If you ever cross the line, there's going to be a consequence to learn how to overcome if that happens.
Right.
'Cause it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be always roses and everything's going to happen. Just the way the market works, you're going to have some trying times, but you'll get through them.
Right.
You have a choice. You know, it says, yea, though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death. Most people will focus on the death and the darkness. And you have to say, no, what causes a shadow? The light. And that's your focus.
I like that.
It works.
Giving us some great little nuggets today. I feel like I'm going to need to use some of this.
Well,
I mean, I've gotten a lot of little takeaways today. I like the stories and all of it.
I stole one the other day. A guy in Oxford yesterday morning, we were having coffee, and he's real involved in his church and what have you. He said, well, you know, the trademark of a successful church. I said, no, tell me. He says, men singing and babies crying. I said, I'm going to steal it today.
I like that.
So see,
Yeah.
there's the first time.
Well,
Men singing and babies crying.
I like it. It's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's what we do. That's goes back to we're just a hodgepodge of other people's experiences.
Deposits
And
into us, right?
yeah. Yeah. So I'm blessed. I just can't say anymore. I'm blessed.
Well, with Meta coming into our area,
Yeah.
where do you see Monroe and our community headed?
You know, now that is a very interesting question because I think it's bigger than we're able to see right now. My particular feeling is, and I'll take you back, you know, in the Bible it says the vine came out of Egypt, as we talked about. Well, Goshen is where they came out of. Goshen is the most fertile part of ground in Egypt. Where do we live? The most fertile part of Louisiana. So what does Medicon do? I think what it has done is unified Northeast Louisiana. And so it's not Monroe, West Monroe, Ouachita Parish anymore. It's the whole Northeast area, and we're going to move together. So I think Meta, it's wonderful. It's great. But really what it's done is made us realize we're all partners in this. And we really do have to work together. It's not just somebody in Monroe getting all the credit, all that kind of stuff. It's everybody. And it's going to lift, back to your point a while ago, it's going to lift the whole boat. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Everybody will have some opportunity out of this, whether it be the tax revenue coming in to do infrastructure repairs or whatever. But as long as we're of one accord and united, this, who knows where we're going. It's a wonderful, lifetime, generational opportunity, in my opinion. So, Friday and other mayors, Stacy, they're mayor of the whole area now, just not what they represent. So.
It's an exciting time to be Liver's
Really
Grass. I feel like it really is.
Really
You can
is.
feel the energy in our area, and I really do think that we're beginning to see some of those things that a lot of people have prayed for a long time for this area, and really have put the plow to. We're getting to reap the benefits of that now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we were talking about a while ago. That cross in Rabel, what a statement.
Yeah.
I mean, this out in the open. This is what we believe.
Can't miss it.
And this is what we're standing on. We're going to stand on it. Well, you know,
Absolutely.
hey, you know, that's God has got his guy on us.
Yeah.
He really does. I believe that. So it's fun to be a part of that and say, look, you know, isn't this neat?
Yeah.
Isn't it neat to see what's going on?
We got to live during that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And I don't,
exciting.
discount that either.
Mm. So if you could paint a picture of Monroe 10 years from now, what would you hope it looked like?
Truthfully, what I would hope that it would look like would be a community of total unity. Um, I think there's a lot of, misunderstanding, absence of quality
Mm.
communication, mindsets, goals. Um, several years ago, uh, when Friday was first elected, Colby, he brought in all these people from all over the world, economic people. I'll just use this as an example. First thing out of their mouth was crime. Well, crime is everywhere.
Mhm.
We're just no different than any other city. Compare it really down where it truly matters, and we're similar to everybody else. But that was a stirring statement, and so we started looking into it. I put personal money and hired somebody to work in an area. And so what I discovered is uh, there are many areas that do not understand the vision, the absence of communication, learning. And so I don't know where this go, but I'll just tell you. You go down Central Avenue to the airport, and you look at that Roy Shelling School, and I think the education school board is very important to whatever happens.
Mhm.
But I look at that elementary school, and I look at Lexington, and there's a vast difference. So image. And when I say that, I realize Lexington School has such a commitment of dollars outside of the boundaries of the school board. But I would, if I had a desire to put across to the Monroe City School Board, it would be go look at Schilling
Mhm.
Elementary School. Make it the pearl of that neighborhood.
Mhm.
Not only in appearance, you start building up pride in the where you go, then you'll start building up pride on the inside.
Mhm.
And then focus money in on education. Make a decision to change generations. But it's gonna take money, it's gonna take resources, it's gonna take volunteers, and it's not gonna happen by itself.
Mhm.
It needs help. So that's just one, there are more. But back to your point, I think when you start seeing this unity take place of thought, mind, and where it's going, how it will all benefit, then I think you'll see Monroe in such a, I mean, it'll be surprising, but rewarding.
Yeah.
So forget all the stuff going on. That you can change that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. John, thank you so much for your time today. I have thoroughly enjoyed sitting down or
yeah,
hearing your story and just the impact that you've made. I think it's going to trickle through for generations to come. So thank you for the way that you've served. Thank you for the way that you've chosen to give back.
thank you.
Um, I thank you for allowing us. I kind of look at my generation like thank you for allowing us to kind of stand on your shoulders and learn from you.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. You're standing on the shoulders of many, many people before, but people will be standing on your shoulders too. So, but thank you for that kind compliment.
Well,
It's a pleasure.
thank-